Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lovely Grace Sampaga from Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English. So for today's discussion, I will discuss about the guides in decision making. 7 difficulties in decision making. The first one is fear of consequence. Because you are afraid of certain consequences, you do not act or do not decide. You are afraid of what might happen. Conflicting loyalties. Many people have more than one thing they consider worthy or undying loyalty. Religion, country, family and friends, promises, perhaps a cause or whatever the author imagines. If a character is lucky, these differing claims can actually reinforce one another. But what happens if they conflict? Then we have conflicting loyalty. The third one is interpersonal conflict. Occurs when a person or group of people frustrate or interferes with another person's efforts at achieving a goal. Types of interpersonal conflict. Interpersonal conflict can be broken down into two broad categories. The first one is relationship conflict. Relationship conflict is conflict between two or more people arising out of personality clashes or emotionally charged interactions. The second is task conflict. Task conflict is related to conflict over policies, distribution of resources, or the manner of task completion. Number 4. Hidden agenda. A wish and plan to implement a particular idea without telling anybody. Number 5. Blundering methods. Blundering methods is to make a gross or stupid mistake, especially through carelessness or mental confusion. 6. Is inadequate leadership. Feeling not enough or not good enough to lead a group or to make decision. Number 7. Clash of interest. A conflict of interest is a situation in which an individual has competing interests or loyalties. A conflict of interest can exist in several kinds of situations. First, with a public official whose personal interests conflict with his or her professional position. Second, with an employee who works for one company but who may have personal interests that compete with his or her employment. Third, with a person who has a position of authority in one organization that conflicts with his or her interests in another organization. The fourth and the last one is with a person who has conflicting responsibilities. 6 simple guides for making decisions by consensus. Number 1. What are we trying to decide? Having a family business or lifetime business is one of the decisions we're trying to make in our life. By planning having a business is also deciding for the sake of our family. Because the business we're going to have is the one that become our source of income, or it will be the one that lifts our family in everyday life. That's why before we do a business, we need to have a fixed decision for everything so the money that we invest will not be wasted and we can help our family. Number 2. What are the different responsibilities? Sharing power, building communities, making better decisions, getting things done, protecting minority needs and opinion, social justice. Number 3. How may each possibility work? Letter A. Sharing power. Consensus enable us to take collective control over the decisions that affect us. At its heart is a respectful dialogue between equals with people working together to meet everyone's needs. From the individual's perspective, this means having as much control as possible over decisions that affect you without having undue control over everyone else. Consensus means working with each other rather than for or against each other. Letter B. Building communities. Consensus decisions aims to meet everyone's most important needs and find a balance between what different people want. In an effective consensus group, everyone knows they can be honest about what they want and trust they will be taken seriously. This in turn means getting to know each other and building open and respectful relationships as foundations of genuine community. Letter C. Making better decisions. Consensus involves looking for win-win solutions that are acceptable to all. It is neither compromise nor anonymity. It aims to go further by weaving together everyone's best ideas and key concerns, a process that often results in surprising and creative solutions, inspiring both an individual and the group as a whole. Letter D. Getting things done. When everyone agrees with a decision, they are much more likely to implement it. In the long run, people are also more likely to stay involved in a group that is committed to hearing their view. This is particularly important in voluntary groups, where most people vote with their feet and leave if they don't feel valued and respected. Letter E. Protecting minority needs and opinions. In consensus, anyone can block a proposal and prevent it from going ahead by not giving their consent. This opinion should never be used lightly because it takes away the freedom of others to do what they want. However, it provides a safety net for situations where a proposal would seriously hurt the group or people in it. Many groups very rarely use the block, but the fact that it is there means everyone knows from the outset that minority opinions cannot just be ignored, but solutions will have to be found to deal with all significant concerns. Letter F. Social justice. Consensus is about more than the relationships you build and the decisions you make within your own group. It is also offers a part of the toolkit for a radically different way of organizing society. Number 4. What suggestion or a combination of suggestion do we choose? The suggestions we possibly choose is the 3 C's of decision making. Step 1. Clarify. What decisions do you need to make? Step 2. Consider the possible alternative and the consequences of choosing each alternative. Collect any additional information needed. Step 3. Choose. Choose the best alternative for you and take the necessary actions. Example. Step 1. Clarify. What decisions you need to make? Should I skip studying for my test to go hang out with friends? Step 2. Consider the possible alternatives. I can hang out with friends and stay up late to study, hang out with friends another time so I can study, hang out with friends and just wing it on the test. Step 3. Choose the best alternative. Stay at home and study. I am glad I made this choice because I did well on my test and don't have to stress about it. Plus, I can always see my friends later. Number 5. What do we need to do to carry out the decision? When you have to carry out a decision, you disagree with one of the great frustrations of being a middle manager is that senior leaders make decisions that go against what you would have done had it been up to you. Sometimes you are part of the decision process, and other times the decision is simply handed down. Either way, you are now responsible for ensuring that the plan is carried out. Number 6. Who will do what, when, where, and how? The managers will do what, when, where, and how because the managers are constantly called upon to make decisions in order to solve problems. Decision making and problem solving are ongoing processes of evaluating situations or problems, considering alternative making choices, and following them up with the necessary actions. Sometimes, the decision making process is extremely short, and mental reflection is essentially instantaneous to other situations. The process can drag on for weeks or even months. The entire decision-making process is dependent upon the right information being available to the right people at the right times. There are 7 factors which help decision-making. Letter A. Clear goal. Everyone present at the meeting needs to share a common goal and be willing to work together towards it. This could be the desire to take action at a specific event or a shared vision of a better world. Don't just assume everyone is pulling in the same direction. Spend time together defining your aims and how you expect to achieve them. If differences arise in later meetings, revisiting the common goal can help to focus and unite the group. Letter B. Clear understanding of who has responsibility for the decision. Managers are paid to make decisions, but they are also paid to get results from these decisions. Positive results must follow decisions. Everyone involved with the decision must know his or her role in ensuring a successful outcome. To make certain that employees understand the rules, managers must thoughtfully devise programs, procedures, rules, or policies to help aid them in the problem-solving process. Letter C. Good means of stimulating and sharing ideas. Be willing to work towards the solution that's best for everyone, not just what's best for you. Be flexible and willing to give something up to reach an agreement. Sometimes the biggest obstacle to progress is an individual's attachment to one idea. If another proposal is good, don't complicate matters by opposing it just because isn't your favorite idea. Ask yourself, does this idea work for the group even if I don't like it the best? Or does it really matter which one we choose? Help to create a respectful and trusting atmosphere. Nobody should be afraid to express their ideas and opinions. Remember that we all have different values, background, and behavior, and we get upset by different things. Listen actively to what people are trying to say. Make an effort to understand someone's position and their underlying needs, concerns, and emotions. If you don't understand, try to say so. Give everyone space to finish and take time to consider their point of view. Explain your own position as clearly as you can. Be open and honest about the reasons for your viewpoints, rather than presenting the reasons you think are most likely to convince other people. Try to express your concerns early on in process so that they can be taken into account in any proposals. Don't be afraid of disagreement and conflict. Consensus isn't about us all thinking the same thing. Differences of opinions are natural and to be expected. Disagreements can help a group's decision because with a wide range of information and opinions, there is a greater chance the group will find good solutions. Easily reached consensus may cover up the fact that some people don't feel safe or confident enough to express their disagreements. Letter D. Effective leadership and structures to deal with the size of the group. Most of us live in societies that are profoundly unequal, and these inequalities are often reflected inside our groups too, making it much harder to genuinely live by values of respect, equality, freedom, and cooperation. We often bring the attitudes of wider society into the room with us, and this can really limit the equality and freedom of individuals within our consensus groups. Making decisions that are truly consensual requires us to unlearn the beliefs we were taught by an exploitative society and instead learn more respectful and cooperative behaviors. In addition, our ability to come up with creative win-win solutions is often severely limited by the options available. Adopting consensus doesn't remove constraint like unjust economics and laws. For example, a group of people could try to take more control over their lives by deciding to get a house together and make decisions about how they live by consensus. Even if they manage to make their internal decisions as equals, an unjust society still limits what decision they are able to make. For example, in many parts of the world, a lack of social housing, profits made by landlords and banks, and crackdown in squatting can make it very hard to find anywhere to live at all. Consensus is not a magic wand. It is one tool among many in the fight for a fairer world. And it takes a lot of practice. It is also about a lot more than just having better meetings. It is about building a culture that really puts principles like equality into practice. And the better we are able to work together, the better place we are in to challenge the structures that make it so hard in the first place. Voluntary groups and cooperatives often elect a steering committee who make all the major decisions to be carried out by a much bigger pool of people. For example, committee might decide on a campaign and design materials and then rely on other group members to put the rolled out through street stalls and door knocking. Some people argue it is necessary to pass power to a committee in order to make long-term strategic decisions and ensure things get done effectively. Collective decisions making, in contrast, can feel unwieldy and slow. However, handing power to a small group of people, however well-intentioned they may be, is no guarantee that they will act in our best interest or make the best choices. We all have different kinds of intelligence, capability, and morality. It is usually better to pull our strength than rely on what one person can offer. Effective group decision making is a skill that can be learned. For example, Many large co-ops successfully use consensus to manage their businesses and have developed innovations techniques to aid and speed up decision making. Letter E. Effective way of testing different suggestions offered. The stages below can help a group go through the process of opening out the discussion and coming back together in a decision as efficiently as possible. The present isn't always as linear as these models suggest. We may jump ahead and then go back and repeat some stages. But having these stages in mind can help you keep moving forward while staying focused on trying to meet everyone's needs. Start by introducing and clarifying the issue. This ensures that everyone has the relevant background information and the group is clear about the remit of the discussion and key questions to resolve. It can be tempting to launch straight into problem solving. However, a key stage in consensus is opening out the discussion to allow everyone to share their feelings, needs, and opinions before trying to find a solution. Recognizing all the different things that are going on for people first is essential for finding a solution which suits everyone. Resist the temptation to make proposal at this stage. If ideas come up, you could hear them briefly and then park them for the next stage. Once you've got a good understanding of what is important to people, you can collect and explore all the ideas for moving forward. Looking at the pros and cons of different ideas helps the group with really understanding everyone's key needs and concerns. The group then looks for the common ground and weeds out some of the options, combining all the useful bits into a proposal. Clarifying and amending the proposal helps to address any remaining concerns. Test for agreements by clearly stating the final proposal and asking people to signal whether they agree or disagree. This stage is important to check if there are concerns that haven't been heard. If you don't have consensus, go back to an appropriate earlier stage in the process. Finally, work out how to implement the decision. Making sure group decisions are acted on is essential for building trust in your meetings. Letter F. Commitment of the leader to genuine group involvement in making the decision. Consensus can require a lot of commitment and patience to make it work. Everyone must be willing to really give it a go. That means sticking with the process rather than jumping to the majority vote whenever you disagree. It also requires people to give time and energy to building equality in your group. Meeting everyone's core needs means recognizing and addressing any barriers that lead to some people being heard less than others. Whether that is about your group structure or interpersonal dynamics. Similarity commitment to consensus means recognizing and valuing all the many ways that people in the group are different from each other, both in solutions they want and what they need to from a meeting in order to be able to join in decision making. Letter G. Agreement beforehand on what procedures will most appropriate. Consensus decision making is a creative and dynamic way of reaching agreement between all members of a group. Instead of simply voting for an item and having the majority of the group getting their way. A group using consensus is committed to finding solutions that everyone actively supports, or at least can live with. This ensures that all opinions, ideas, and concerns are taken into account. Through listening closely to each other, the group aims to come up with proposals that work for everyone. By definition, in consensus, no decision is made against the will of an individual or a minority. If significant concerns remain unresolved, a proposal can be blocked and prevented from going ahead. This means that the whole group has to work hard and finding solutions that addresses everyone's concerns rather than ignoring or overruling minority opinions. Consensus is used widely by people around the world, working towards a more just, equitable society. From small voluntary groups or cooperatives and campaign networks to businesses, local communities, and in some cultures across much wider regions. The exact process may differ depending on the size of the group and other factors, but the basic principle of cooperation between equals remains the same. In this guide, you'll find lots of information to help you make decisions using consensus, including why you might use it, the basic principles and process, how to apply it to larger groups of people, and ideas for dealing with common problems. We also have a short guide to consensus. Another guide facilitating meetings contains lots of tips for making your consensus meetings run smoothly. Thank you for watching and have a good day.